Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Comedic actress Lucille Ball said these words, how true they are. The secret of staying young is to live in earnest, eat slowly, and above all, lie about your age. Good morning, everybody, on a Monday, a busy Monday. Here's Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots, call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, thank you very much. Wonderful lady, Kate Smith. Remember that As the Moon Comes Over the Mountain type song? Oh, my goodness, she was good. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday morning with our major sponsor, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Right now, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Oh, you again?
Yes, to start out the week, I thought I might as well do the pledge.
All right, do a good job, my friend. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels. Hey, Wheels, we've got a busy day today, so stay close by the microphone, okay?
Yes, sir. I'll be watching things like a hawk.
All right, okay. Thank you. Time for the weather forecast, and I'm sure Wheels has the weather. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Oh, my goodness, they've got all kinds of things for you. Chandeliers are famously tricky for people who figure out because they're hanging in the middle of the room with no points of reference against which to gaze for size. And a great rule of thumb that Whitney says she learned years ago is take the width of the room in feet, double the number, and convert it to inches, and that's the minimum dimension for your chandelier's diameter. Woo! Hey, call her and find out more at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, where they always have the best of carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, and home decor items at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, here we are, kicking off another work week, and you want to know what the weather's going to be like. Well, here it is. Mostly cloudy skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the west right around 13 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 63 tonight, low of 45. Tomorrow it is going to be better. Partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, high of 70 with an overnight low of 46. Mostly sunny and 75 for Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, it looks like we're going to have a storm moving in. Expecting some rain showers in the afternoon. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. Going to be windy as well. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s. And for Saturday, partly cloudy and 65. Yesterday's high was 63. The overnight low was 48. That's your weather for 7th Rain.
Nice job, Gina. Really good job. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Okay, here's what I want to remind you of today. Today is the day before primary day. We are deluged with a lot of good words about all our political friends, so bear with me. Representative Clark Kaufman urges you to vote tomorrow, May 17th, in the primary election, and he wants to thank you for the opportunity to serve as your District 5 representative. Don't forget Clark Kaufman tomorrow, May 17th, paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman, Debbie Kaufman, treasurer. Also, don't forget tomorrow, Tommy Hutchison Hutchison, candidate for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. A straight shooter that tells it like it is, businessman that wants better for Cassia County residents. Don't forget, a hard worker for Cassia County, Tommy Hutchison, running for District 3, Cassia County Commissioner, paid for by the committee, Don Frazier, Treasurer. As I stated, we've got a lot of different ads to get on today, and we want to make sure that we keep everybody in the loop as to what's happening. And I also want to remind you, tomorrow, go vote for Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar for re-election. Eric Snar, a working sheriff out in the field doing any job necessary to protect you. Don't forget, tomorrow, May 17th, vote for Eric Snar for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by the Re-elect Eric Snar Committee, Jason Gibbons, Secretary. And last but not least, let me see, who have I got here? Deanna, can't read my own writing. Can you help me on that for a minute? Want to also remind you about someone that's running for another office, and that is Jack Johnson. He's running for Twin Falls County Commissioner, District 3, will represent all of his district and listen to all the people. A very balanced approach to agriculture and economic needs. Don't forget, Jack Johnson for Twin Falls County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Johnson for Commissioner, Darwin Kyle, the Treasurer. As I stated, it's going to be a very busy day today. All right, calls are welcome. Excuse me, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is absolutely insidious and filthy as to what's happening in this country. And I really am surprised that many of you out in the audience, now I'm not saying all of you, but I'm saying many of you in the audience haven't taken a stand against this absolute filth that is being pushed on us by President Obama. Texas said no, and Texas meant it. The governor, Lieutenant Governor, the Attorney General of Texas said no. Obama, you are not going to bring that filthy attitude of the bathroom bill to where anybody can go into any bathroom, anybody can go into any locker room, anybody can join any sports team they want. They are declaring their gender. No. It's not going to happen in Texas. And I absolutely salute Texas, but now this is where you come in, audience. You've got to speak out. Our governor has spoken out. Butch Otter has said, absolutely, this is insidious and wrong. Those are not his words, those are mine, as a paraphrase. And he has absolutely come out and condemned this move by Obama to send a letter to all the school districts and schools in the United States saying they must do. He is not a dictator. He is not a king. And he does not have that right. I want your calls, because this affects you, your families, your daughters, your grandchildren, everyone. Call me. And I want to tell you what's going on here at Zebeth Ranch with threats that we've received. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes, they get there early in the morning at 7:30, open the doors and say, come on in, we're going to serve you with all that you need for your heating, electrical, and cooling needs at Ramsey Heating and Electric. 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call ahead and have your order waiting, 678-0459. Wonderful people that you can always rely on for warm winters and cool summers. It's Ramsey Heating and Electric. Bear with me on that cough, too. I don't know, spring of the year, allergies, whatever, I can't help it. Hey, Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley with Thomas and Terry and the whole crew. My goodness, our next lunch bunch is going to be on the 26th. So caller, stand by. I'll be reminding you about lunch bunch coming up on the 26th, but you can stop into America's Diner anytime, all the time, and enjoy the delicious food all the time, breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Denny's Restaurant. 611 Overland and Burley, and also 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Yes, sirree, Bobby. it is Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. My goodness, yes. I'm going in there again this afternoon. Yes, I am, at 1 o'clock for my treatment on my hip. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. All the exercises, great physical therapy staff, 678-1191. Helping you get back to being you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. You know, it is completely apparent this brain-dead twit we got as president has overstepped his authority. And what he says there, he does not have the power to do that. And I just can't even understand in any way why every judge, every senator, and every congressman is not standing up and telling him that.
Jerry, I just absolutely am appalled at the way this country is going. And we're opening up the doors for sleaze, filth, and perverseness to reign supreme in this country. And you know what? I guess you and I and others have got to take the blame because we didn't slam the door hard enough on this issue.
Well, we slammed the door. There just aren't enough of our congressmen and our senators doing the same thing. They must be, in their mind, going along with this kind of garbage.
Well,
There's lots of judges out there that could be hollering bloody murder.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's my question. That's the guys that's sick. That's the guys that's not doing their job. That's the people that are trying to destroy our morals and our values in this country.
Absolutely.
And there's a few other people that go along with it.
Well, you know, this is...
Very few.
I know...
do not understand their thinking.
Jerry, I tell you what, it's going to take more people like you to stand up and say enough is enough. And I applaud the governor's office for what Butch Otter has said. I applaud what Texas is doing. But I've been threatened by some in this community not to carry stories on this bathroom issue, this locker room issue with the transgenders. And I have contacted law enforcement to alert them to the threat, but I'm not going to weaken on this. This is absolutely depressing to me that our society is going to cave to the pressure of something that is completely deviant from normalcy, and I'm not going to do it on this program.
Well, you know, I would probably be after you if you didn't. So I guess there are people on both sides that can make threats. Of course, I'm not making a threat. You know me well enough to know that. But I will say this, I would be very disappointed in you if you ever back down on something like this.
Well, you're not going to hear it. I'm not going to back down on anything, Jerry. I promise you that. And I urge you to keep calling and keep speaking out, my dear friend. Thank you. I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you so much.
Well, you do a commercial. Let me say one thing before you do that. May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
I appreciate it, Jerry. Thank you very much. No, I'm not going to weaken. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to be succumb to threats. I look at threats like, how dare you? How dare you threaten me when we have a national story of great significance for families and churches and the well-being of America? You think I'm going to back down to you and your threats? You're crazy. Absolutely crazy. Don't forget Shirley Halford Hubbard running for Cassia County Commissioner District 3. She said that she has great ideas and a great knowledge base to be ever diligent as a commissioner. If you want fair and equal representation for all of Cassia County, vote for Shirley Halford Hubbard for District 3 County Commissioner in Cassia County. Paid for by the committee, Lois Reinhart, Treasurer. Also want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental. And they're located at South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with the Doosan loaders, the Bobcat equipment, Coyote tractors, Walker lawnmowers. Oh, man, are those great. I tell you what, that's the way to cut your lawn. Steel equipment, everything. So check out the great prices and super financing available for you on all the equipment they have to get the job done right. Berry Military Equipment and Rental, Lincoln and Jerome, South Lincoln, that is, in Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and, of course, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Caller, thank you for your call. Go ahead.
Yes, Deb, we're more connected now than ever. We can Google up anything we want to know, any information we want. Maybe Google isn't always fair and objective, but in most cases, their definition of things is pretty right. The other day I went to Salt Lake on Friday, and I'm driving down the road, and as I pull into the heavy traffic, we're going 80 miles an hour. I'm pulling the trailer, and it's bumper to bumper at times. I look over to the right, and these people are looking down, and they're on their phone.
Oh, wait a minute, Randy. I got to interrupt you here. Because I think you'll agree with me, that's not the subject matter that I started off with. And I'm not trying to be rude to you or anyone else, but I'm very concerned about what this bathroom bill with the transgenders is going to do to our society. And that's the track I'm going to stay on for this first hour.
Well, my point is, quickly, just so you know, my point is this. Here these people know everything about everything, and they're driving down the road at 80 miles an hour to learn whatever it is they're learning on their phones, but they ain't got enough guts to stand up and defend what is right for their own families and their own children. And they're risking our lives and their lives driving down the road this fast, and they don't know nothing, and they aren't speaking up about nothing, but they're, like I say, willing to do it at 85 miles an hour, whatever frivolous, wasteful things that they are talking about or texting. You see?
Yeah, I do.
This is so infuriating what is going on with these bathrooms. And he's shoving this down our throat. Of course, what's new?
Yeah.
And so my point is we know, when do we fight back?
Well, now listen, just a minute, Randy. Randy, just a minute.
I was just...
Randy, wait a minute. Let me make a point here, please. I want to ask you something. You've got daughters and you've got grandkids now, too, don't you?
I have 6 daughters and 14 grandchildren.
All right, now there's my point. Obama, and think about this for a minute and give me your response. How dare this Obama? I absolutely, if I had any respect for the man, it has completely been thrown in the toilet after what he did. Obama's daughters will never be subjected to this blatant disrespect of decency because they are protected 24/7 by Secret Service people, men and women. How dare he make an edict that's going to affect you, your family, your daughters, and your granddaughters when he and his family will never be subjected to this?
Well, what's new? It's just like this. See, we're on the reaction end here. We're reacting to what he did, and this is all that's being talked about today is what he did, and you know as well as I do. There was some information. A couple brothers were talking about what's going on in Target, and they said what he really wants, what Obama really wants, is just pure chaos. Literally, he wants.
I agree.
To destroy itself.
I agree. Randy, I didn't mean to chastise you there a little bit. I see your point, but I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I totally understand. We've got to speak up. We've got to stop them somehow. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. He's right. This has got to be stopped. I mean, I don't have a little granddaughter. I've got all grandsons. Doesn't make any difference. I don't want this filth, this degeneracy to go any further. This is perverted. How dare he act as a king? How dare he act in a dictatorial fashion and send something out as an edict? We're going to cut back your federal funds. We're going to cut back on the check. You better kowtow and listen to me. He can't do that. That's not an order of Congress. How dare this man? Don't forget, re-elect Jay Heward in Cassia County as Cassia County Sheriff. He's been in police work for over 36 years and knowledge of the job through experience and hard work. Jay Heward is a sheriff you can depend on. With his constitutional responsibilities, vote tomorrow, May 17th, to re-elect Jay Heward, Cassia County Sheriff. Paid for by the committee. Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Okay, and also, real quick, I want to remind you, I say I can't find half the papers I'm shooting for this morning. I'm doing it in rapid fire. We've got a whole bunch of people to get on. Jerome County Sheriff Doug McFall wants your vote tomorrow, May 17th, for his vote for re-election for Jerome County Sheriff. And don't forget, he's been 39 years in law enforcement, 24 as an Idaho State Trooper, and was very instrumental in getting the new jail facility built in Jerome. Don't forget, vote for Doug McFall for Jerome County Sheriff, paid for by the committee to re-elect Doug McFall, Cinda Morgan, Treasurer. There we go. We got those on. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Why are we, and this is honest, I found these figures out, why are we catering to 0.3% of 1% of the population? Why are we catering to 0.3% of the population? Why are we helping these people totally destroy a value and moral system in our country? Why? Wouldn't we as a nation be a lot further ahead? Answer this. Somebody, I want people with guts to call in. I don't pussyfoot around this thing. I'm going to tell you like it is. You people have got to speak out. It's not just me. You've got to go to your churches and demand that people speak out on the pulpit. You've got to demand from your politicians. You've got to start demanding, folks, or don't you care? Caller, I'll be right there. Do not go away. I promise I'll be right there with you. Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Do not forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox offering home comfort systems from Lennox. Gas furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. You will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric, 678-0459, and see how Ramsey's and Lennox can save you money. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, yesterday when I was in church, I was thinking of something, and it was, you know, at least our churches are not going to be affected by this, but I want people to think of this. Sure, we may not take any money from the government for our churches, but they will try to cut off our 501c, and you know what that is.
Yes. You know, Keith, actually the churches are affected by this. I disagree with you. Churches are affected by it if they bury their head in the sand. Wait a minute, hear me out. Wait a minute, Keith, please. Churches are affected by this if they bury their heads in the sand and don't get up on the pulpit and tell people about the insidious nature of what's going on in the world today. Pastors, church leaders, whomever, they'd better not bury their heads because this issue is going to be enormous.
You're right on, and that's just where I was headed, because we're going to have to fight like the Dickens to keep them from overtaking our churches with this program.
You know, I tell you,
I'm worried about it because some people just don't think about it because they pay their church tithings and things like that, and they don't stop to think that the government can cut this off anytime they want. And they will, supposedly, if we don't abide. And we need to take this very serious.
Well, okay, Keith, you know, you're a dear friend of mine and have been for many, many years. I'm not going to be threatened. My wife and I, and as a family unit, we're not going to be threatened by these people. And I have been. And I have turned it over to the police departments. I have put these people on notice. I'm not going to be threatened. I'm not going to back off from this. But it's got to be more people than just me speaking out and condemning this.
Well, can you tell me what our governor, what is his stand on this? Because I don't know.
I've already given that earlier this morning. He came out with a notice last week, and I'm trying to find it. It was dated in a press release on Friday the 13th, and I'll give you the headline that was in the news from the governor's office. Governor Otter denounces federal mandate on school bathroom access, and then the story continues from there. So yes, Butch is speaking out on this issue, as well he should.
Yes, I'm proud of him, the fact that he did it, and the governor of Texas.
All right.
Texas has just told him, I don't care what you do, we're not going to do it.
That's right, and that's the way it should be. They told Obama, basically, you take your letter and whatever you want to do with it. You take your federal funds and whatever you want to do with it, because we're not going to be dictated to and allow this deviancy to take over family values. Keith, I got to get a break in. God bless you for your call. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Holy cow. Yes, don't forget, I've got a whole bunch of things here. Bear with me just a minute, audience, and I want more of your calls. We want to remind you, too, about our dear friends over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, my. Right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. The number to call, 312-0957. And get a hearing screening and find out what you're missing. It's fun. Really, it is kind of fun. And the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup can help you with your hearing. Absolutely knows all about it at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. It is time, actually past time. I got to get this in real quick. I want you to call if you are a first-time winner only for Sophie's Chatterbox Delicious Cinnamon Rolls, 530 East Street in Rupert. Listen to this great, great restaurant, super bakery with those cinnamon rolls. Here's the question for today, and it's an easy one. Remember back in the 60s, the television show, The Real McCoys? Remember that? It was a great, great show for family entertainment, etc. What was the name of the grandpa on the show? I'll give you the actor that played the part. It was Walter Brennan. But what was his name on the show? Grandpa what? Give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587 for first-time winners only. Come on, give me a call real quick. Win a half dozen cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. And if you're the winner, just call them at 436-0354 and let them know when you will get your cinnamon rolls, okay? Somebody give me a call. What was Grandpa's name on The Real McCoys? And they even they gave his name during the song credits of the theme song for the show too. Come on, give me a call real quick. What was Grandpa his name on The Real McCoys? While I'm waiting for your call, don't forget on Tuesdays we have Dr. History. Caller, I'll be right there, sponsored by Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Zach and the rest of the crew with all your lumber, all your roofing, all your shingles, metal or asphalt, all your windows with Western windows. Oh, my goodness, what are you waiting for? All the Tartar Farmer gates, panels, etc., Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good morning. I think his name was Amos McCoy.
Who is this?
It's Linda Croft.
Well, Linda, I didn't recognize that. Have you ever won before?
Never.
Well, you have today, and you are the winner of a half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls. My goodness, you're going to have yourself a treat.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, it was Amos McCoy. Thank you. Remember they used to sing Grandpa Amos and all the girls and the boys in the family known as the Real McCoys. There you go.
Happy Amos,
All right, Linda, God bless you. I got to go. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, nice lady right there. Linda Croft is the winner, and thank you very much. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I want to hear from you. Running for Twin Falls County Sheriff is Cliff Katona on the Republican candidacy, and he wants to be the sheriff of Twin Falls County. He's been 28 years of distinguished law enforcement for the state of Idaho and promises to be proactive to community needs and much more visible. Vote Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff, paid for by the committee. Jim Woolley, chairman. All right, your thoughts. Please give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, how can Obama and his wife Michelle, how can they sit there so smug? How can they sit there and make edicts to school boards all across the country? Oh, well, you'll let these transgenders go anywhere they want to. Really? When he and his wife are not ever going to be subjecting their daughters to the blatant disrespect of decency. And what's next? Think about what's next if this is allowed. Boys dressing up as girls and playing on all the sports teams, and it's already happened at some major universities. Oh, well, no, even though I'm a male by my gender, I'm a transgender, so I want to play on the girls' basketball and volleyball team and softball team, etc. Whoa! This is all going to happen. You bet your life it's going to happen. How are you going to stop it? How can you stop somebody from adopting to be anything they want to be? Well, I'm 65 years old. Actually, I'm not. I'm only 35. But I want to, that age on my birth certificate is irrelevant. And I want to apply for Social Security money. Okay, now you're laughing at this. But why shouldn't they and couldn't they? Well, even though it says I'm 35, that's not true. I want the money. I want it now, so I'm going to apply for it. How are you going to draw the line and stop it? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And here's something I'd like you to do. If you know that you have Democratic friends politically, go up and ask them. Ask a Democrat how they feel about this issue and how they will stand behind the Democratic platform. All the more reason not to vote for a Democrat. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. And there is a call coming in. Caller, again, I've got a lot of spots to do. I know you're going to show me some patience here just for a moment, and then I will get you on the air. Don't forget, John Linker is running for Jerome County Sheriff, 18 total years experience in law enforcement, and he wants your vote tomorrow. He believes that tax dollars should be spent in the county wherever possible and not send tax dollars out of state just because it's a little cheaper. Vote tomorrow, May 17th, for John Linker for Jerome County Sheriff, paid for by the Linker for Sheriff Committee, Chairman Bill Watts. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I can hardly believe that President Obama is doing what he's doing to the schools and to everything else. What's it going to be like people traveling to go into a rest area?
That's right.
I'm not going to want to go into a restroom with a big guy in there.
Nor should you. You know, Lorna...
It's scary to even think. And there's enough bullying going on at schools. What's it going to be like?
Yeah. You know, but here's the point, Lorna. Caller, stand by. Number 2, stand by. Here's the point. Why are we, answer this, you're a very sharp lady and our dearest friend. Why should we cater to 0.3% of our population?
We should not cater to any of it. I could not believe it when they took prayer out of school. One person did it.
Yeah.
I can't believe that it's come to the president taking away all of our moral ideas and freedoms.
Yeah. 99.7% of the people are against this. 99.7% of the people don't want anything to do with this, but yet the president puts it in and disrupts our total nation decency. This is ridiculous, Lorna.
It is. Well, not only that, but to hold back funds if they don't do it.
Absolutely. Lorna, I appreciate your remarks.
Blackmail.
Yeah, it is blackmail. It is, and I thank you for bringing that point up. Thank you, Lorna. God bless you. Have a good day. Thank you. Thank you. Caller number 2, quickly. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, back in the 40s, I believe it was, there was a Supreme Court decision says that it's not without due process that the federal government control that which it finances. So through the Department of Education, we get millions of dollars have come out to the states. We get Common Core along with it and all the rest of it. We need to abolish the Department of Education and bring the education back to the state level. And of course, all these executive orders, where's Congress to override this, whether it be the EPA or anything else? They just sit on their thumbs and draw their paychecks and their retirement, and they really don't seem to want to represent this. And I'm referring to Simpson. He just goes along to get along with every one of these things.
Well, let me in here. Let me in here for a second.
And realize that a third of our state budget comes from the federal government.
Yeah.
So this is why we get all these edicts. We get all the arsenic things that are happening in Castleford, Buell, now coming to Tyler, and so forth. So anyway, the problem with this is that, when the edicts come down from the EPA, they say, well, if you don't go buy them, then we're going to cancel all of your grants money and so forth coming to your city for whatever.
Okay, Adrian, I got to interrupt you. I've got to stay on point here this morning on this subject. Your points are well taken that the money is nothing more than blackmail and they're making edicts. But you know something? The president does not have this power. He is not a dictator. He's not a king. And I agree with you. I got to get more callers in, and I'm going to talk more about your point in just a little bit.
He is a dictator. That's the problem.
I agree.
You need to stop it.
I agree. God bless you, man. Thanks. I appreciate your points this morning. Caller number 2, don't go away. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, Tommy Hutchison is running for candidate for the Cassia County Commissioner District 3, and he is a straight shooter, tell it like it is businessman that wants your vote tomorrow to help make Cassia County a better place to live. Don't forget tomorrow, Tommy Hutchison for Cassia County Commissioner District 3, paid for by the Hutchison for Commissioner Committee, Don Frazier, Treasurer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Yeah, I guess I'm on.
Yes, sir, you are. Go ahead, please.
Well, I'll stay on topic, even though it's just pathetic. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. You're hitting your dial tone, I think, somehow, so just keep going. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, what I've researched on the internet about this guy, Barry Soetoro, I mean, this is pretty hard to say, but I'm going to say it. His so-called wife is quite possibly a transgender. Now, it's hard for me to get that out, but I'll bet there's others in the audience who, seen evidence of that possibility and the deception that goes with this possibility.
Okay. Let me just interrupt you right there, and I'm not trying to be. Hang on, just a second. Don't hit your dial tone or your dial buttons. But I want to just say this quickly. On this program, I only deal in fact and not speculation, and I'm not going to speculate about Michelle Obama. I'm not going to speculate about anything but hardcore facts. The hardcore facts are that the filth and sleaze of what the president did to an edict for all schools across this nation is absolutely apprehensible to me and all people with any kind of moral value whatsoever. That is a fact.
That's a fact. Yeah. Well, I understand where you're coming from on the evidence thing, but so I'm not going to say any more. But maybe some of your audience and knows more than what I do.
Well, I appreciate your call, and don't ever weaken. Call in more often. I do appreciate your call. God bless you, sir, and thank you. Call again. Please do that. Once again, I want to urge everybody that on these issues, it's bad enough that we have to stick to the facts. Underline the word facts. And I won't go into speculative type, well, maybe this happened and maybe this. No, that doesn't cut it on my program. Maybe on other talk shows, but not mine. I want to stay specifically to what we know as facts. And what we've given you this morning are hard, cold facts. Don't forget, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Urgent Care. 3 locations: Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care in Twin Falls. Minor emergencies, major care. No appointments necessary. Just walk in, whether you've had a sinus infection, an ear infection, a strain, a sprain, or maybe even a problem with something like flu, and everything to take care of you. Minor emergencies, major care. The urgent cares around the valley. We'll have more about their locations in just a moment. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, here we are, kicking off another work week, and you want to know what the weather's going to be like. Well, here it is. Mostly cloudy skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the west right around 13 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 63 tonight, low of 45. Tomorrow it is going to be better. Partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, high of 70 with an overnight low of 46. Mostly sunny and 75 for Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, it looks like we're going to have a storm moving in. Expecting some rain showers in the afternoon. Partly to mostly cloudy skies. Going to be windy as well. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s. And for Saturday, partly cloudy and 65. Yesterday's high was 63. The overnight low was 48. That's your weather for 7th Rand.
Brought to you by Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland in Burley, right across from Walmart. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, over by Kmart. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Thank you, Gina. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And, you know, the idiocy, and that's what it is, idiocy of this whole movement, is saying that they want to stay with Title IX of the Civil Rights Act and that they don't want to discriminate against anyone. Wait a minute, that is so ambiguous and so phony right there. The Obama administration, doesn't want to discriminate against anyone. Well, what are they discriminating against if it's not the 99.7% of our population? By demanding that 0.3% get access into restrooms and locker rooms, etc., that could absolutely cause many huge problems with our youth and even family members across America. And we sit back and say nothing. Well, I, for one, I've already sent letters, and I'm going to be making more calls today to our congressmen, senators. I'm going to call other states of people that I know involved in politics on a national level, and I'm going to condemn Obama. Quite frankly, I'm going to damn him on this situation. I'm not going to hold back my feelings. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, there are no provisions in the Constitution for any president to ever declare an edict or a proclamation or anything else. I can't understand why the House of Representatives, the Congress, the Senate, these people are supposed to be on our side. We, the people, are not impeaching this man and getting him out of office. You know, he's overstepped his bounds time and time and time again. And to come up with this type of filth, like I told you the other day about the guy that identified as the Tooth Fairy. Yeah,
let's not go there. Let's not go there. It was a great story, but not applicable to facts and reason here this morning. But what you said about our people in control of the Congress and the Senate is so true. And I'll tell you what, I'm just not seeing a backbone from these people. Whether it's this issue, whether it was the Keystone Pipeline, whatever issue it is, I'm not seeing a backbone from our senators and congressmen across the board. They are milquetoast, weak-kneed, and quite frankly, they're cowards.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. You know, and I would implore, I would beseech, I would beg everyone within the listening audience to call Butch Otter's office and ask him to please stand on the principles that he, of decency. You know, if one of my little granddaughters was, I've got 5 sisters, and I've got about 12 little nieces and nephews. If one of them is ever molested by somebody, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that person doesn't breathe anymore.
Well, no, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Whoa, sir, wait a minute. I don't want to make an idle threat.
Enough.
I don't want to make I know I agree with you, and I know I'd feel the same way. But let's not make an idle threat or anything right now, because here's the situation. This insidious president making an edict like this to basically protect and raise above the rest of us just 0.3% of the population tells me that the entire Democratic Party and their platform is supportive of this filth, and all the more reason to go to the polls tomorrow to make sure that none of them are elected.
Yes, it's even 10 years ago, you'd have never thought that something like this would happen.
Yeah, but, I agree.
Well, I'll let you go, Zeb. You got another caller.
All right, sir, but God bless you, and thank you for your thoughts. It's just absolutely frustrating. I agree with you. Thank you very much. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, Earl.
Yes, sir.
Just hand them a damn shovel and send them to the sandbox is what I'd say.
Well, I agree with your principle, even though it's in layman's terminology, Earl, but I'll tell you what, by kowtowing to them, this 0.3% of the population, we are opening up the door for many more problems of where they can do and ask for whatever they want, and society, through this administration and government, will give it to them.
Well, it's the same. Boy, I'm having a hard time not swearing this morning, but it's the same thing that's happened to the parents in this country. We've taken parenting away from them.
Yes.
Away from the parents. I'm afraid I'll start swearing here in a minute.
Well, don't do that, Earl, but your calls are welcome. You always give a lot of thought to your concepts. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, and have a good day, sir. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. Good friend right there. I don't know, folks. I'm concerned for my family. I'm concerned for my wife. I'm concerned for my daughter and her family. This absolutely is sleazy. It's something that nobody saw coming down the pike 5-10 years ago, and we're there. What is going to stop these people from saying, oh, well, we won the bathroom deal, here we go. They can't stop us from joining this. They can't stop us from joining on these teams. They can't stop us from doing anything. And it's going to be the ruination of our society. Because we didn't have the guts to say no. And as far as threats to me, I better not get any more. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they've got all the tires to be ready for summer travel. That's right. They are ready to serve you. You're taking a trip? Well, they've got all the tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs, boat trailers, your camping trailers, your horse trailers, everything. Yes, and they've got the people that know all about tireology. They study it. They know. And, of course, they've got that free pre-trip safety check. Stop in, ask them about it before you leave on the road trip. And the best in brake service, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I've got 1 minute. Go quickly. Thank you.
You betcha. We need to use some football strategy on this. We need to put them on the defensive. When they're defending stuff that we're throwing at them, mind's not thinking of all the stuff they're going to throw at us to try to cram down our throats.
I agree with you. Now, quickly, tell me your strategy on turning it around and pointing the finger at them. How?
Start impeachment on every one of them back there that are for this. And any congressman or senator that does not stand up against it should not be re-elected.
I couldn't agree more. Doug, always appreciate your point of view. Thank you for calling in this morning. Thank you.
All right.
Good friend right there. We have some good words from some of our political candidates, which Wheels is going to cover with Tawny and also Clive Strong. I'm going to turn it back over to him, and then he's going to carry us up to CBS News. Wheels, it's yours, my friend. Take it away. Oh, we're back after a little bit of a break to gather up our thoughts and go for hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch, good morning to you. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and resources. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, locally owned and operated and always at your disposal. Get on the route service, the weekly route service, have your trash picked up, it's gone, it's out of there. Very dependable people serving you at Western Waste Services. Call the number, get on the service today, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Thank you very much. Oh my, hey Wheels, how about the good word for Roy Prescott?
With over 40 years of dedicated community service, Roy Prescott brings experience to real issues facing Jerome County today. Roy Prescott, the Jerome County Commissioner. Responsible leadership for a better Jerome County.
Paid for by Prescott for Commissioner Committee, Catherine Hanks, Treasurer. Thank you. By the way, kudos over to Wheels. This has been a very rough couple of 3 weeks getting everything on the air and everything, and that young man has done an outstanding job, so I appreciate him very much. Thank you, Wheels. Scott Yates, don't forget, not part of the establishment, and he wants your vote tomorrow for Cassia County Sheriff. Scott Yates says that he is a taxpayer and employer, and he wants everyone to be productive, and he is absolutely believing that exceptional communities set higher goals, and Cassia County is an exceptional community. Don't forget, Scott Yates for Cassia County Sheriff, paid for by the committee to elect Yates, and the treasurer, Julie Jaime. Thank you very much. Also, we want to remind you again, Tommy Hutchison running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. Wants your vote tomorrow for Cassia County Commissioner. And he's a straight shooter, tell it like it is businessman, and he knows that he would like to work for you. Don't forget tomorrow, when you go to the polls, vote for Tommy Hutchison for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by the committee, Don Frazier, Treasurer. Wow, we've got a lot of people to get on the air here, and we certainly appreciate all the ones we have. In just a moment, we're going to be going to Dennis Babbitt at the Senior Center. Dennis, stand by. I'll be right with you. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with the manager-owner, Joel Heward, his family, his staff, always there. Always there when you need them with very flexible hours. When there's the passing of a loved one, you can depend on them by calling 436-5636. With, again, holding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving you and your family. Please remember, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, the number 436-5636. Woo! Without further ado, here's a very, very good friend of mine at the Senior Center in Burley, and it happens to be Dennis Babbitt. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning to you, Zeb. I'm good.
Well, good. What's going on over at the Senior Center on Overland? Tell us a little bit about what's been transpiring over the last week or so.
Well, we've been preparing for the community breakfast, which is Saturday, the 21st.
Okay.
That'll be from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. And we have the sausage, biscuits and gravy, bacon, scrambled eggs, pancakes, orange juice, and you get a roll. That cost us $7. It's like a campaign donation. You know, we're trying to build up to get meals to individuals that aren't able to afford them.
Now, you said you get a roll. Does somebody help you up off the floor?
They did this morning.
I am kidding, but the food is delicious always over at the Burley Senior Center. By the way, Catherine hasn't sent me the notice yet, so I can keep on plugging that for this next Saturday. Be sure and tell her to send one over to me, would you?
Okay, we'll do that.
And what else is going? You know, Dennis, you need to take a few kudos this morning for a job well done. You are a volunteer that just jumps in, and you're so helpful. We were talking about the Meals on Wheels with you a couple of weeks ago. Of all the different people that you've met and all the meals that you've served, do you have any of the fondest memories of helping the seniors with the Meals on Wheels? Would one stand out over any others?
I think probably there's several, but still comes right back. Sometimes that's the only meal they prepared for the day, or have prepared, because they're not able to stand on their feet because of health issues. They're not able to prepare the meal, and so we had one lady that actually has gained about 20 pounds back.
Oh, my.
And she has gotten down very, very low on weight.
Uh-huh. And just going there, and for the few minutes that you're there with these folks, delivering the meal, and then some of the camaraderie, what are some of the discussions like, quickly? I mean, what do they want to talk about?
Oh, they want to talk about weather. Some of them, you know, you're the only person that they've seen for the day, or may see for the day. And they want to talk about this, or they want to talk about that. And they talk about the weather. Of course, that's, you know, something, if we live in Idaho, you don't like the weather, you wait an hour and it'll change.
Yep. But, you know, it's a heartwarming experience, and it takes a lot of time out of your daily schedule. Now, how many other volunteers are there to help with the Meals on Wheels?
We've got the kitchen staff. They're working in the kitchen. We have 4 of them. We've got another route driver that husband and wife, they're out and about. And then I've been filling in. We had one little gal that worked for us, had some surgery, and didn't turn out well.
Oh, my. Well.
So, you know, we just keep trying to plug away. Our number of meals that we deliver each day is increasing. Just trying to make things work.
Okay, now, if someone in the audience would like to contribute, whether it's $20, $100, $500, or whatever, towards the Meals on Wheels, what would they do? How would they do it?
They could call the center here at 878-8646, or they can call Catherine Walcroft, our director, at 931-1344. And if they just want to send it in the mail, then it's 2421. No, actually, it should be a box number.
Okay.
And I don't remember that right now.
All right, but it's not that hard. Just call the office, and they'll tell you how to send it in the mail, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Well, listen, you've got phones going off aplenty over there. Dennis Babbitt with the Senior Center. God bless you, man, and thanks for being on our program. And I'll call you when I get off the air.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. Take care. Thank you. Oh, my goodness sakes. Nice man right there representing the Senior Center, Dennis Babbitt. I mean, what a volunteer. And I know that last year when we had that Pilgrim Pride dinner, he was up there helping us with all the door prizes and everything. Just a man that you absolutely can depend on, and I appreciate him. Don't forget Charlie Howell running for Jerome County Commissioner, District 2. I've known Charlie for a long time, and I'll tell you what, he served 4 terms as County Commissioner, and he spearheaded the new criminal justice facility that was started over 10 years ago with the first proposal. Here's a man that believes and demonstrates in team play, but leads the way with independent thinking. Don't forget, vote for Charlie Howell, Jerome County Commissioner, District 2, paid for by the Howell for County Commissioner Committee. Brenda Haddam, Treasurer. Thank you very much. Also, let's see who else is on our list of credentials for talking about this hour. And we want to remind everybody tomorrow when you go to the polls to re-elect Cassia County Sheriff Jay Heward. Yes, been in police work for over 36 years. Knows the job through experience and hard work, and he knows his constitutional responsibilities. He's the Cassia County Emergency Manager. Jay knows what to do. Don't forget, Jay Heward, a sheriff you can depend on in any circumstance. Jay Heward for Cassia County Sheriff. The committee headed up by Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Oh, my. You know what time it is? Yes, you're way ahead of me. And it's time for the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. And good morning to Vicky. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's a little cool out there this morning.
You know what? Why don't you jump in your car or pick-em-up truck and come over here and help me read and do all the commercials for the politicals for the rest of the morning. I've only got about 900 left.
Well, see, you're working your way through them real well. Just get right after it. I'm sure you can do it.
I have rolled up my sleeves. I certainly have. Vicky's Country Garden, located, of course, at 185 South 600 West of Paul, and she has everything for your gardens and your home, exterior decorating outside in the yard, the shrubs, everything else. And I've got some questions for you, my dear lady. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Now, here's one that I had never heard of before, so please help me. Question: do cucumbers cross with watermelons, pumpkins, or squash?
No, they won't. Squash will cross. Pumpkins and squash will cross, but cucumbers don't.
Okay, and my question to you, in addition to this question, is why in the world would you want to cross them in the first place?
Well, a lot of people have trouble in their gardens. They'll plant a lot of their squash together, and the vines all run together. So you've got those flowers sitting right next to one another, and that's when you get your crossing. But on cucumbers, they basically have their male and female blossoms on the same plant. So consequently, they pretty much stay to themselves. But, and I can hear there's a dead silence on the other.
Oh, I love that. So in other words, they're like wallflowers at a high school dance.
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But normally, I'm not going to say that they can't, but I've never heard of one doing that. But pumpkins and squash are in the same family totally. And so consequently, yes, they can cross. They don't do it on a regular basis, but they can if the pollination's right. Watermelons and cucumbers are two different. They're a lot alike, but they're two different, and I've never seen one cross at all.
Okay. I've got a couple of great comments I could make, but you know something? I'm going to bite my lip. I'm not going to. Okay. What's that, Vicki?
I say, there we go. We're learning. Deb did not say everything our brains comes up with.
You and I, on a radio program with more frequency, could probably end up fired and completely off the air forever. Okay, here's another question. This lady writes in and she says, and I'm trying to paraphrase everything, she has little white bumps on the stems of her tomatoes. Why? What is the cause?
Okay, if it's down on the bottom part of the stem of the tomato, that is, if she's had them grow in a while, that's little roots trying to come out. A tomato will root completely up the stem. If you plant it deep in the soil, that whole stem will root out and support that plant. And as a rule, when you get those, it's a lot of humidity. They're growing tightly together or something. And she's evidently had them growing quite a while, and that is just little root nodules starting to come out on it.
Oh, so it's nothing to worry about.
As far as I can tell, no. I have it happen here all the time, but it's usually the fact that then you put them in the ground and those little nodules will root right out in the ground. So just plant them down deep in the ground to cover to cover those up. But we always recommend planting tall tomatoes deep in the ground.
Okay. Another letter that came in this week, and one that I've had in the past. Other people have questioned this already this spring. This lady says, why did the seeds I planted in my garden not do the job, and they seem to have germinated very poorly?
Well, we've had a lot of temperature fluctuation, and a lot of people planted way early in cold soil. And cold soil, they don't realize that soil temperature is the key to germination on seeds. And some seeds just do not germinate well in cold soil. And if you have a couple of days of warm weather and you might get the soil warm enough for a few to germinate and then it goes back down cold again, it stops the whole process. So as a rule, I keep talking to people about soil temperature. It's not up there warm enough for certain things. Give it time to get that soil temperature up there to hold a constant, because whenever we get these cold spells with these rains, this cool rain coming in, it can drop that soil temperature 4 or 5 degrees in a matter of 1 or 2 nights. And cold soil temperature is your problem on germination. Seeds have to hold a constant temperature to germinate real well.
Okay. Oh.
That's why we use a germination chamber that holds the temperature at a certain temperature all night and all day.
Okay. Now, this is a dumb question from yours truly, so add this to the back of your mind. I'm asking this one. Could it also be maybe that they planted the seeds too deep?
You can have planted them too deep. We've got birds that come along and pick the seeds out of the ground, squash seeds, pea seeds, beans, corn. Birds will take them out of the ground, so if you're getting a poor germination, dig down and see if you have any seed left. If there's no seed there, then something got the seed. Otherwise, a lot of it has been people planted way too early. We had those nice warm days, and they think, oh, it's been 65, 70 degrees. I can go out and plant, but the soil hasn't reached that point yet.
Okay.
So it's a combination of all of the above, but a lot of it is temperature.
Okay, now a lady in Twin Falls sent me this note, and I hope I get this question correctly, because quite frankly, it didn't make a lot of sense to me, so bear with me. Basically, she said, can vegetables help each other by planting certain ones side by side? Is there a buddy system in growing plants?
Well, I think what she's going for is a lot of people plant garlic throughout their gardens because it helps with bugs. Supposedly, it puts off a scent that bugs, that aphids and that type of thing will stay away from. Also, a lot of times garlic will keep, they swear that it'll keep mice and things like that out of your gardens, burrowing insects. I'm thinking that's kind of what it is. Sometimes you have different vegetables that can grow next to one another because they'll support one another as far as shading and helping things getting to come up. That needs a little bit of shade to come up. The taller plants can help keep the little ones shaded a little bit more. But most of the time, it's usually a bug issue that will help. A lot of people put marigolds in their gardens and things like that, too, to help with bugs.
Okay. Now, this next person, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, said, and I'm going to paraphrase this again, when I dug out my garden and got ready to plant it, I used a great amount of, and I'm going to change the verbiage to barnyard fecal material to put on my garden. But how do I know if my garden needs more of that fertilizer during the growing season?
Well, just remember that the manures will bring up the nitrogens in your garden, plus it can also bring in fungus spores, so be aware of that type of thing. As a rule, I recommend putting the manure on in the fall, tilling it in, and letting it set over the winter, and then it's safer. Putting it on in the spring, you can burn things like putting the manure on in the spring. Be very careful, and it depends on what kind they're using. Some are hotter than others, and so they have to be very careful adding it during the hot part of the summer, because it can burn very easily, and you can burn your crops up completely.
Okay. Now it is time. I'm too cheap to buy trumpets for this program, but it's time for the Vicky's Gardening Tip of the Week.
All righty, we've got a cool week ahead of us. They're talking we're going to be cloudy, kind of rainy, basically kind of a cool week. Watch your watering. Don't water like when the sun's out and that. Again, we've got a cool week. The plants are not going to be using a lot of moisture. Don't overwater, because you can damp a lot of things off. They will rot off right at the ground if they stay cool and wet. So be careful on your watering right now.
Okay. Now, give us a quick synopsis of all the different products you've got over there for the garden and for the flowers and everything else. Go ahead. Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South 600 West of Paul.
Well, we have all of the chemicals to keep the bugs and the fungus out of your garden. We have all the fertilizers to keep everything growing really good. Plus, we have a great selection of peppers, all kinds of hot peppers, mild peppers, all kinds of tomatoes. Still got lots of flowers, lots of geraniums, and all of the barks and rock and landscape fabrics and things of that nature to put out in the landscape. Plus, lots of trees, shrubs, and perennials. So you name it, we got it, and if we don't have it, let us know and we'll get it.
Okay. Tell everybody your hours and where you're located, lovely Miss Vicky.
All righty, we are open from 9 to 5:30 Monday through Saturday, and we're open noon to 4 on Sundays.
All right.
And we are located on the Burley-Paul Highway.
All right, and
Paul, and you can't miss us.
Absolutely not. The lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens, 438-5663. Great program, great answers. Vicky, God bless. We'll see you next Monday.
That'll work, Deb. Have a great week.
All right, thank you much. I love having that lady on the program. She's a lot of fun. Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens in Paul, 438-5663. Really good folks. Oh, my, we got to pay some bills here right now, and I want to got to pay some bills here right now. Holy cow, I'll tell you what, bear with me today. Tomorrow I'm going to sit back, and with everybody, I'm going to urge you to go vote, and then I'm going to sit back and go, oh, thank you very much. Don't forget, let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world. Oh my goodness. They're all geared up for summer, and right now is a time to buy a four-wheeler or a side-by-side and enjoy the beautiful outdoors of Idaho. And Suzuki right now, four-wheelers, 0% financing. Zero! And they've got all the watercrafts too, and a great accessory department and a fantastic service department at Let's Ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the world, where the fun is sold. Absolutely. Also want to remind you about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. You know, you want to work with the professionals because it is you, it's your family, it's your business. Make sure you're protected. Call them today for an appointment at 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really nice people. Oh my, don't forget to, Cliff Katona is running for Twin Falls County Sheriff. Yes, and he would like your vote tomorrow. As a matter of fact, May 17th, here's a man that has 28 years of distinguished law enforcement for the state of Idaho, as an Idaho State policeman for 19 years. And he wants to be a visible sheriff in the community, addressing people's concerns. Don't forget to vote for Cliff Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff tomorrow. Vote for Katona Twin Falls County Sheriff Committee, Jim Woolley, Treasurer. Oh boy, let's see what else have I got to tell you about real quick before we go to our next guest for this half hour. I think I'll ask Wheels. Is Carrie on the phone right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, thank you, Wheels. I appreciate it. We're going to go with this next lady a little bit earlier than normal because we have so much to cover this morning. And I'm very blessed to have the Alliance Defending Freedom on the air with me this morning and the communications director, and that's the lovely Carrie Kupek. Carrie, good morning and thank you. How are you?
Good, doing well, Zeb. We actually just got some breaking news on the Zubik case, which is the Christian colleges and universities, Little Sisters of the Poor, and the priests fighting the abortion pill mandate.
Okay, what happened? Tell us that first of all, and then we'll go into some other topics.
Sure. Well, the Supreme Court, sent the cases back to the lower courts, and they essentially affirmed the right of Christian colleges and the nuns and the priests, to not have to pay fines or fill out forms authorizing this kind of coverage. And we're talking about, the morning after pill, the week after pill, and the Catholic entities opposed the birth control. And this is in response to a bunch of briefing that was done after the oral arguments. The government has many other ways to ensure women are able to obtain these drugs without, obviously, forcing people of faith to participate in acts that violate their deepest convictions. So it's going to be interesting to see, but this essentially wipes the slate clean at the lower courts. Those folks who previously had a loss are now going to be having their case worked out in a way that does not violate their convictions. So these drugs will be getting to those women, but it won't be done through the Christian universities, nuns, and priests. They will not be used as a drug mule by the government. So this is very good news.
It is good news. Now, can it be a stepping stone for other edicts issued by the court system in the favor of Christian and Christian values?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This is a little bit of a complicated case because there's some details as to how this is actually going to be worked out, and the details are still remain to be seen as these get worked out in the courts. But certainly, it's a good sign. It's certainly a good sign where the Supreme Court said, "Look, you don't have to force religious institutions to violate their most deeply held beliefs on the sacredness of life. The government wants to distribute drugs that these religious employers find understandably questionable, then the government has to figure out a way to do so. There's a way to do this without forcing people of faith to violate their conscience, and so that's a good sign."
All right, Carrie, the big thing that I wanted to talk to you about this morning, and this also is very big news, good news for those of us that have been following that story. But I was absolutely all of the above emotions. Number one, I was very mad. I was really upset last week when I heard Obama issue an edict that a letter was sent to all schools and all school districts that he, now the king and dictator, was going to demand that transgenders could use any and all bathrooms, locker rooms, etc. He does not have that power. And I hope that enough people are going to band together like Texas and say, Obama, you are wrong and we're not going to do it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think we're going to see that. The Obama administration completely overreached their authority, abused their power, and is attempting to bypass Congress, the democratic process, and quite frankly the voice of the people in forcing a political goal, which apparently includes forcing women and girls to shower with men and boys, especially in our high schools and elementary schools. This is a real problem. I, as a woman myself and as an attorney, find this deeply troubling. The Obama administration has spread lies about what the courts have actually said about what the law says. If you look at the plain meaning of laws that involve protection on the basis of sex, it does not include gender identity. And the Obama administration is determined to extinguish the voice of the millions of girls across this country who understandably and justifiably feel uncomfortable and very upset about the thought of being forced to undress in the presence of their male classmates.
Yeah, but Carrie, it goes so much further than the supposed bathroom bill. I mean, it's a question of how high is up if they, being the transgenders and Obama administration, win win this. I mean, what's to stop the insidious movement from taking over any and all sports teams, any and all locker rooms? I mean, just, you want to say you're a zebra. Somebody will have to pay attention if you say you're something else. This is just opening up a Pandora's box of problems. Am I wrong?
You're absolutely right, and it defies common sense. And let's look at the law under which the Obama administration is currently attempting to force through this radical political goal. It's Title IX. Now, what's Title IX? Title IX protects women on the basis of sex. So Title IX was created in the early 70s to combat a real problem. Women weren't getting a fair shake in educational institutions in terms of funding and athletic equipment and things like that. So Congress passed a law that made sure that women would be on equal footing with men and get the same kind of funding and access that they that was owed to them. If you look at the history of Title IX, if you look at the legislators' intent, if you look at the plain meaning in the dictionary of what sex means, it's very clearly biological sex. Furthermore, the regulations that surrounded Title IX specifically said that educational facilities could maintain sex-specific locker rooms and restrooms. And so it's very clear that this is what biological sex means. Furthermore, any attempts by those across the country over the last number of decades to include gender identity, or in other words, one's self-declared perception of what one's biological sex is, those who have attempted to say that sex in Title IX includes gender identity has been rejected. The courts have consistently said, no, biological sex means biological sex. And again, this is common sense. Men don't belong in women's locker rooms and restrooms, and certainly in our schools, in this very sensitive period in teenagers' life. Girls and boys should not be forced to undress or shower or use the restroom in the presence of each other.
You know, Carrie, I mentioned this first hour, and I'd like you to respond to something I said last hour. The president and his wife, Michelle, will never, ever have their daughters subjected to this blatant dismissal of respect and decency because they are protected 24/7 by Secret Service men and women personnel, so they are completely immune to any potential problems. But for the rest of us, our families, our grandchildren, etc., this is pure sickness.
And it's interesting, we filed 2 lawsuits over the last couple of weeks. And the first one, which we've talked about on your show, is the Palatine School District one, which someone was just talking about on your show, where we represent 63 students, 73 parents, for a total of 51 families in a school district that has opened the locker room to a biological boy and has allowed that boy to go into the locker room and undress with the girls in there. And, you know, so often there's talk about those who are struggling with sexual issues pertaining to their sexuality, and those are important conversations, don't get me wrong. But we also need to talk about the very real and valid feelings of these high school girls, especially in this situation, who also are very upset. So, for instance, there is a girl who we represent as part of that Palatine School District case right outside of Chicago, who is so embarrassed and quite frankly traumatized at the thought of undressing in front of her male classmate that on gym days, on PE days, she wears her gym clothes underneath her regular clothes because she doesn't want to undress in that locker room.
Oh, my.
It's too upsetting. And then once gym is over, she keeps those sweaty gym clothes on and puts her regular clothes back on and wears them for the rest of the day, all so she can avoid changing in that room. We also filed a lawsuit last week on behalf of a number of students and parents in North Carolina and a number of University in North Carolina college students who are saying, look, Obama administration, you are putting us in a terrible position. You're saying to us, either give up our fundamental right to bodily privacy, and when I say fundamental, I mean an inherent right that we all possess. It's why we wear clothes, right? Either the Obama administration is essentially saying, give up that right, or give up your right to federal funding for your schooling. So UNC stands to lose all kinds of federal funds, I mean hundreds of millions of federal funds, if they don't capitulate to the Obama administration's demands. And then the students who receive federal fundings in the form of scholarships and grants will also potentially lose that. So this is putting those college students in a terrible position.
You know, I'm looking at this as a father, a grandfather, and a person that absolutely believes that our society morally is going down the tubes. Why in the world would Obama and why would the Democrats want to stick to a program that is basically catering to 0.3% of our population and giving them more rights than families and decency? Why?
I don't know. I really don't know. They obviously have this political goal of forcing men and women to shower with each other and use the locker rooms together. I suspect it has to do with big money lobbying groups and kowtowing to special interests in Washington, D.C. But it's really mind-boggling that we would even be having this conversation. There are many, many women and girls in this country that, this extends far beyond the school issue. The problem that is obvious to most of us is that if you open up locker rooms and you make restrooms gender neutral, it forces especially women to ignore reflexive instincts that one has when you're in an intimate setting like a locker room and a man walks in. Because right now, under common sense rules that say men stay in men's rooms and women stay in women's rooms, as a woman, if a man walks in, I can say, "Excuse me, sir, you don't belong here," or I can get the manager, or I can get security. Now, if we open up these locker rooms and restrooms, and if we do what the Obama administration is attempting to force states across this country to do, those women will be able to say anything until something actually happens and they're the victim. And let me be very clear. I am not saying that this is a transgender issue per se. I'm saying the problem is those who will abuse these laws.
Absolutely.
Access for bad reasons inside that locker room. And that's the problem with opening up locker rooms and restrooms. Obviously, this is common sense, but and there are a lot of people who are very upset about this across this country, and they should be.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. Quickly. Go, please.
Okay, I don't know how quick I can make this, but I'll do my best. I actually downloaded and read the directive. I also read the guidelines that they sent along with that, showing what other states are doing. You're correct, Zeb. Everything you're saying is 100% correct. Now, what they want to do in the long term is they want to make all public bathrooms gender neutral. So it doesn't matter, men can go in, women can go in. It's beyond just the high schools. This is just the first step that they're going into. The only out they allow currently in that whole message that they're putting out is the fact that they will take and they'll allow schools and districts and other entities to put in separate facilities that anyone can use that are closed off and sealed off. It's disgusting what they're doing. They're going to cost the school districts hundreds of millions of dollars to try and fix a problem that doesn't exist.
I agree with that. Thank you very much, caller. Carrie, respond to the caller, please.
It's important to remember that in these schools, solutions have already been found. For those who are struggling with issues pertaining to their sexuality, those people have been able to, say, use a unisex restroom, have been able to use a nurse's restroom, and so very reasonable solutions and accommodations have already been made. There is no need to undermine everyone's right to bodily privacy by mixing both sexes. It just doesn't make any sense.
Carrie, what I'm looking at here, and I'm going to take a little longer than normal on this morning, but I'm seeing the total demise and destruction of privacy rights for any and all individuals in this country. No morals, no decency. We are being dictated as to what the morals and decency will be by a government administration that is very devious at best. What are your thoughts in response to what I just said?
The Obama administration is running ramshod against the voice of the American people. The American people don't want this. They see the huge privacy issues here. They see the potential risks to safety. They see the absurdity that this is. They see that this defies complete common sense. And for the Obama administration to continue to bully these school districts and bully the American people into not voicing their very valid concerns is a travesty.
Absolutely.
And it shouldn't be happening. I was very upset by the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch's speech last Monday. Again, as a woman, as an attorney myself, I just couldn't believe what she was saying. She was essentially comparing those, let's talk about the women, those people who have understandable and justifiable concerns about being forced to undress in a locker room in the presence of a male stranger. She compared those people, like myself and the millions of women like me, to some of the worst evildoers in our country's history.
Oh, my.
It's ludicrous. It's laughable almost if it wasn't so sad. And I have a concern that many women across this country are not feeling like they are able to voice their opinions, and they're afraid of being bullied because the Obama administration is attempting to silence them.
Absolutely.
But they should not feel that way. Their voice and their concerns and their feelings on this are perfectly valid and understandable, and they should continue to voice them.
Absolutely. We have another caller. Caller, quickly, you're on the air with your question.
Okay, thank you. I won't take up very much time. I have one small little statement. What about the older folks? I mean the really older folks that are in a wheelchair and handicapped, need to use the public restroom somewhere, whether it be man or woman, young boy, or whoever the case might be. What about them? I'll hang up. Thank you.
That's a good question. What is this, in your opinion, going to do to affect the older folks that, the older generation with a set of morals and decency, this must be really causing havoc with them and worrisome to them.
Yeah, of course it is. Again, this is common sense. Men belong in men's locker rooms. Women belong in women's locker rooms. For those folks who are struggling with very sensitive issues pertaining to their sexuality, they should be addressed compassionately and sensitively. And in most of these situations, there is a solution. They can use a unisex restroom or locker room. They can do that. But the solution is certainly not undermining everyone's right to bodily privacy and opening up men and women's locker rooms to the opposite gender.
And Carrie, I don't mean to beleaguer this point, but this little brick in the corner of the building that is taken out, one chink in the armor, that if they get their way on this, and Obama can hold blackmail money away from states, the sky's the limit as to what they can do for a unisex society. The sky is the limit as to what they can do for sports teams. Men can play on women's teams. Women's can play on men's team. Locker rooms, bathrooms. Our whole society and any aspect of decency is gone.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, back to your women point, it's really interesting. Like I said earlier, Title IX, which is the law that the Obama administration is very inaccurately citing as a justification for what they're doing, was a law designed to protect women against sex discrimination. Women were not getting a fair shake of things. So it's ironic and sad that this same law is now being used against women and forcing them to allow men into their locker rooms against their will. And like you said about the sports team example, right, if a man wants to now, say, play, he says he's identified as a woman, right, and he wants to play on a women's sports team, well, what does that mean for scholarship money? Does that mean that man can potentially get that scholarship that woman would have been owed or deserved? What does that mean for funding? It sort of undermines the entire purpose for Title IX, which was to put them, men and women, on an equal playing field. And when you integrate the two under this law, you sort of deem the entire law irrelevant.
As an attorney and a spokesperson for the ADF, Alliance Defending Freedom, what do you think is going to happen? Speculation, I know, but what do you think is going to happen with Texas, for instance, standing up and telling Obama, no, you are not going to bring that filth to the state of Texas? What do you think is going to happen?
Well, I think it's going to be interesting to see. It's not just Texas. We are seeing this in Arkansas and Oklahoma, as well as a number of states have signed on to a brief in a case that's come out of the Fourth Circuit, a case out of Virginia, which opened up, which is trying to open up a locker room to a biological boy or a biological girl, rather. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I really, really, really appreciate that these attorney generals and governors are doing the right thing and reflecting the voice of their people, reflecting the safety and privacy issues that their people have, and they're doing the right thing by their citizens. They realize what a disaster this will be. The potential for abuse of open locker rooms and restrooms is infinite. And again, this is common sense. Men don't belong in women's restrooms. It's as simple as that. And certainly, we should not be forcing this kind of political goal and agenda on our young people,
Absolutely.
who are among the most vulnerable in our society.
Absolutely. You know, Carrie, this is an issue that I'm just so upset about, and I'm so mad about, fighting mad, to be quite frank with you. I will do anything I can in support of defeating Obama and this absolutely insane blackmail. Thank you so much for being on the air with us with the Alliance Defending Freedom, Carrie Kupek. God bless you, and call me if you hear any updates on this, please.
Will do. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Carrie Kupek, and with the Alliance Defending Freedom. This just makes me sick. This just makes me sick and mad that we have let a so-called president deteriorate, mash, and trash value systems in this country. 248 days left with this monstrosity of an excuse of a president is much too long in my book. And I'm just so fearful what this man and his lack of values will do next. Time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you this hour by Lennox Home Comfort Systems. With our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money. And right now, here's the weather with Gina.
Well, here we are, kicking off another work week, and you want to know what the weather's going to be like. Well, here it is. Mostly cloudy skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the west right around 13 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 63 tonight, low of 45. Tomorrow it is going to be better. Partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, high of 70 with an overnight low of 46. Mostly sunny and 75 for Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, it looks like we're going to have a storm moving in. Expecting some rain showers in the afternoon. Partly some mostly cloudy skies. Going to be windy as well. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s. And for Saturday, partly cloudy and 65. Yesterday's high was 63. The overnight low was 48. That's your weather for Zebit Duran.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. Brought to you by Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric. Don't forget, call them today, 678-0459, and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I want to read a statement from the Alliance Defending Freedom Senior Counsel, Senior Lawyer Jeremy Tedesco in just a moment regarding this insidious Obama edict playing blackmail with federal funds. I want to read that in just a moment right after I tell you that Tommy Hutchison is running as a candidate for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, and he wants your vote tomorrow for District 3, Cassia County. Tommy's a straight shooter, tell it like it is businessman that wants everything better for you, your family in Cassia County. Don't forget to vote for a hard worker, Tommy Hutchison, for District 3 County Commissioner in Cassia. Don't forget, paid for by the Hutchison for Commissioner Committee, Don Frazier, Treasurer. Here is a statement from Jeremy Tedesco, and I want to get this on the air. I got to make a check mark there so I don't forget where I am. And it goes as follows. The Obama administration's new guidelines simply reinforce what has been abundantly clear already, that it has a political goal of forcing women to share restrooms and locker rooms with men across the nation, and will spread falsehoods about federal law to achieve its aims. This is precisely why we, the Alliance Defending Freedom, have filed 2 federal lawsuits, one in Illinois and one in North Carolina, on behalf of parents and students who are understandably concerned about their children. Solutions exist to accommodate everyone without violating anyone's privacy rights. But the administration won't entertain those solutions because of its preference to unlawfully impose its political will through threats and intimidation. You know, I hope and pray that each and every one of you out there that believe in what I believe in will call and condemn and damn this administration for what they're trying to do to subvert decency in our country, morals in our country. Oh yeah, yours truly is just livid about this insanity. I warned this audience 7.5 years ago about this man, how treacherous, how vile, and how evil I thought he was. And he is. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I just am livid about this. No family, no daughter, and no son should be subjected to this kind of blatant approach to their privacy. Nobody. Caller, I've got a minute. Go ahead, please.
I wonder if any of us 7.5 years ago had a clue really how bad it would be. I mean, we expected the bottom to fall out, but sometimes I think we're so shocked with what has happened.
Let me ask you something really quick. I got to try to get both calls in. Are you the mother of currently girls in school? Have they grown up? Please tell me quickly.
No, but I have grandchildren.
And what are your thoughts about their safety?
Oh, it scares me. I mean, we would never even think about letting our kids go to the bathroom by themselves unattended.
Absolutely not. Locker rooms, everything is completely open, carte blanche for anybody right now, and this is sick. I wished I had more time, but thank you so much for your call.
Thank you.
God bless you. Caller number 2, quickly. I've got about 30 seconds.
Okay, I called my representatives, I called my senators and asked them where they stood on this, and every office said, they haven't made a decision yet.
Well, they'd better damn sure make one.
That's exactly what I said. I'd like everybody out there to call them. I want to flood those phones and ask them why they can't have a moral decision. Why do they have to research it before they can make a decision?
You know something? There's no research necessary, Doug. It's a cut and dried issue. My goodness, it's the sanity of privacy.
Exactly, and they haven't reached a decision. So everybody out there, think about that. Call them and talk to them. Put them on notice. Tell them elections coming up. If they like their job, they better dang well stand up for what we believe in.
And I want to say this, Doug, thank you for taking the initiative to call. I'm sorry I got to run, but I've got to get these ads in quickly, and thank you.
Everybody out there, join us.
Absolutely. God bless you, man. Thanks. Wheels is over at the station. He has a couple of good words for us from Tawny and then also for the Clive Strong Committee. Go ahead, please, Wheels. Oh, good morning and welcome back to hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. Thank you very much. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Give them a call, 734-6969. We're going to have our guest with us just a few moments, but right now I'd like to remind you Clive Strong's running for Idaho Supreme Court Justice. He knows the issues that are important to Idaho and its future with water, timber, mining, and grazing, and he has the necessary experience to make the decisions for us, the citizens of Idaho. Don't forget Clive Strong for Idaho Supreme Court Justice tomorrow, May 17th, paid for by former state representative Bert Stevenson. Thank you very much. And also, real quick, I want to remind you, too, Scott Yates is running for Cassia County Sheriff. And, of course, tomorrow, tomorrow, May 17th, our primary, and Scott is not part of the establishment, and as a Cassia County Sheriff, he wants all to know that he'll be serving and representing the residents of all of Cassia County. He believes that exceptional communities set higher goals, and Cassia County is an exceptional county. Scott Yates for Cassia County Sheriff Committee, paid for by Treasurer Julie Jaime. And one more real quick I want to remind you, and that's, of course, Tommy Hutchison running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. Wants your vote tomorrow for Cassia County Commissioner. Tommy's a straight shooter, tell it like it is businessman that wants better for all of Cassia County. Don't forget, when you go to the polls, Tommy Hutchison, candidate for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by the committee, Don Frazier, Treasurer. Ladies and gentlemen, right now, in the vein of what we've been talking about all morning long, I'm very honored to have with me Dr. Michael Brown on the program, and he writes for The Stream. And before I let him say too much, Dr. Brown, I certainly want to say thank you for coming onto the program this morning. And I personally am just as mad can be over this blackmail after this kind of a dictatorial type edict from Obama to all the schools across the country to accept sleaze and total chaos with any kind of privacy whatsoever with this ridiculous enforcement of saying that transgenders can use any bathroom or locker room they want. Good morning, Dr. Brown. What are your thoughts?
Good morning. Great to be with you. Yeah, and of course, this is outlandish on every level. First, there's no basis for what the Obama administration is doing. I mean, it is just kind of an edict, a decree, as if this was a king or an emperor. Secondly, it completely butchers Title VII and Title IX, which say that you can't discriminate based on sex. And now the Obama administration has just said, well, for us now that includes gender identity, something that's never included before. And then worst of all, it's threatening schools with a loss of federal funding. I mean, North Carolina, where I currently live, we've been threatened with the loss of $4.5 billion of federal funding unless we say that a 15-year-old boy who identifies as a girl can share the locker room and shower room with 15-year-old girls. It is social insanity. And on thestream.org, I've written an article calling for national civil disobedience. And as I was writing that article, it got posted on Friday, and then I began to see that governors, different states, were saying no to the administration, that school superintendents were saying no. So this is just one of those moments where people of conscience around the nation can stand up together and say, with all respect to our government, this is something with which we will not comply. Parents need to do it, educators need to do it, and we need to send a message to the government. Enough is enough. You've gone too far this time.
You know something? I applaud you, sir. I have never met you personally. I've had you on the program before, but I applaud you for what you wrote. And yes, I would make the advocacy of social disobedience on this issue because our families, our decency, our morals are absolutely at stake. And you know what's such a joke about this, if not funny joke, but it's ridiculous, is that Title IX was made and written for the respect and getting equality for women. This absolutely trashes Title IX. Would you agree with me?
Oh, of course. Look, let's just think about, say, sports teams. That there's a reason you have boys teams and girls teams. There's a reason that you have the Olympics, male competitors versus male and female versus female. But here, you can have a boy that's not the best athlete, he's decent on the boys' teams, but now he identifies as a girl. I'm not saying that's his motivation for it, but he now identifies as a girl. He plays on the girls' sports team, becomes the superstar. What about the other girl? She would have been top of her class, gotten the scholarship. Now she doesn't even get it. And what about the expectation of privacy in a bathroom or locker room? What about the fact that a significant percentage of women and girls across America attest to having been sexually abused over the course of their lifetimes or even raped? And now you're basically saying, we don't care about your sensitivities. We don't care about traumas you've passed through because we need to accommodate the maybe 0.03% of the population that struggles with gender identity. I say have compassion on the people who struggle, but don't turn the world upside down because of that, and don't pass these outlandish rules or give these enactments. Press Secretary Josh Earnest says, well, you can hang a curtain in the locker room. Oh, that's great. So now you're going to have to start segregating the locker room. What about the transgender student that feels uncomfortable because they have to be behind a curtain? These things have already come up. It is social madness and nothing less.
Dr. Brown, I said this first hour and second hour when I had the attorneys on for the Alliance Defending Freedom. I'm going to say it to you, and I want to get your response. Why I am condemning and, quite frankly, damning Obama over this edict like a king or a dictator is one big reason. His daughters will never be subjected to this blatant disrespect of decency because they have with them Secret Service personnel, male and female, 24/7. They will never be subjected to it. So how dare this insidious president do it to the families of the United States?
Yeah, well, not just his daughters. His wife won't be affected either because she's not going to be working out at the YMCA. And even though this is for schools, these are the type of rules that are being pushed on society as a whole. For example, the state of North Carolina is being told that you must make your locker rooms gender neutral. So, for example, if it's the YMCA, if it's your wife or mine or one of our daughters, or in my case, granddaughters, and they're going to be working out at the YMCA, they're going to be swimming in the pool, and now they're going to be taking a shower afterwards. According to these laws, according to these edicts, a man who identifies as a woman can walk right in there, let alone the sexual predator, the heterosexual predator who's going to use these laws to do what he wants to do. But you can just walk right in, and it's no problem. It's, hey, they have the right to be there, so your wife is going to come out of the shower, and she's got a towel around her, and here you've got a guy standing there, and he's changing with male plumbing and the whole bit. It's insane. How could anyone possibly think that this is a step in the right direction, or this is the right direction for our society? It's madness.
Dr. Brown, how does this man, Obama, think that he can supersede the laws and congressional approval and their forming of the laws and make an edict like this? Hey, if you don't comply with this, I'm going to hold back your federal money. I applaud Texas. I applaud the governor, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general because they basically said, hey, listen, fella, bring it on. We'll fight you and we don't want your money. What should the rest of us be doing?
Well, what the rest of us need to be doing is first get educated on the issues. If folks go to my website, askdrbrown.org, askdrbrown.org, there's a host of articles and videos and radio broadcasts that deal with this. My book, Outlasting the Gay Revolution, lays this out in detail. This is where things are going, and here are practical ways that we can stand. So first, get educated. Secondly, make sure that your kids understand the issues because they're under tremendous pressure. They're getting bombarded by the social media and the teaching in their schools and the TV shows, celebrating these things. They're getting bombarded. Make sure your kids understand the importance of male-female distinctions and that they can be compassionate towards other kids who struggle. And then parents need to take a stand. They need to call their school and ask, where do you stand on this? And if the school says, oh, we're going to be complying, then the parents have to say, all right, we're not happy with that, and we're going to look for alternative ways to school our child. Now, not everyone has those means or that ability, but we need to be thinking in that direction. If the public schools are going in this direction, we need to tell them plainly, then you're going to lose our kids, you're going to lose our support. Parents need to get involved in school boards. Many times the school boards have folks with very aggressive agendas, very different than ours. Get involved in the school board. Make the investment of time. Vote out those that vote for these radical curricula. And instead, get involved. And then if you're an educator, make it known to the school, I can't in good conscience comply with this. If enough people stand up to the bullies will back down. That's what always happens, but we need to take our stand. And then as Christians, we need to put God first, and we need to be in prayer and say, Lord, how can I make a difference right now? And at the same time, reach out to those who are struggling. If there is someone struggling, say, in Christian love, we want to help you, but we're not going to turn the world upside down because of you.
You know, when you talk about schools and their decree and what they're going to stand for or not stand for, Dr. Brown, do you see this issue as another nail in the coffin against public schools with the bullying problem, the security problems, the absolute lack of respect problems against the administration and teachers, and now this problem? I'd be afraid to send my kids to public schools right now because of this absolute torturous demise of what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are definitely things vary from district to district. There are some schools with strong moral standards and excellent educational programs, but we know that our public school system has been failing in many ways. And to the extent the federal government's involved, it's failing all the more. Really, it's a good time to renew the call for vouchers, that if we're paying taxes, all of us pay taxes to support our public schools. Those that send kids to the private school now have to pay double. And it's a great time to renew the discussion about vouchers. And there, like you say, a lot of problems in the public schools. This is just one of them. But could this be the thing that pushes more parents to pull their kids out? If they do pull their kids out more and more, then the public schools lack even more funding. We don't want to see their demise. We'd like to see their positive transformation. But look, if you go back to the founding of our nation, and even right through the mid-1800s, the Bible was central in school education. Even though you had diversity of beliefs and not everyone was a Christian, it was recognized, it was respected, and biblical morality was respected. Somehow we need to get back to conservative moral principles in our schools and to a respect for authority. And tragically, there are a lot of radicals who don't share our values, who are really driving another agenda. And they're right in the front lines of the National Association of Education and things like that. So it's a challenging time, but we need to act responsibly. We need to step back, think things through, think long term, make responsible decisions, not just react in the heat of the moment. But this is where things are going. That's why we've been warning about this for so many years. And finally, it's time for people to wake up.
You know, when I look at the different stories that I have right here in my hand, this one from the Daily Caller back in D.C., and they talk about the Department of Justice and the Department of Education coming out with these decrees and kind of standing arm in arm in a lock against anything that's sane in this country. I hold the people with the Justice Department and the Department of Education, I hold them in my irest contempt right now, because I think these people absolutely are going to be the downfall of anything that is safe and sane for our children in America. Would you agree?
Yeah, look, the Department of Justice in many ways has become, DOJ has become the DOGA, the Department of Gay Activism. When former Attorney General Holder said that he was encouraging attorneys general not to defend the state's marriage laws. You know, this goes back a couple of years. What an outrage for him to make that statement, to say, even though you are an elected official serving the people, that you won't defend your own state's laws because you have a problem with them. When Loretta Lynch compares the transgender activism, that those who don't support that are it's like Jim Crow laws. I mean, that's an offense to the African American community. So these are radical things. The Department of Education and what it's currently doing, it's complete overstepping of bounds on every level, and we need a real reformation in the elections. We don't know where they'll go. We certainly know where Hillary Clinton will go. We don't know which way Donald Trump will go. But we need a revolution in the society, not with guns and violence, but with morality. And it's time. Now is the time.
I agree. We have a caller with a question for you, sir. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, this Department of Education or any other federal agency, that there's people in there that know that where we're headed is a disaster. And I'm sure they want to speak up. They have children, grandchildren, friends, relatives who are suffering through this administration's edicts. And so, you know, is the peer pressure so much that they just literally are afraid to do anything and say anything? I'll hang up.
Would you respond to that comment, please?
Question. I don't know everybody in these organizations or who the top people are. Certainly the top people are going to be heavily stacked to share the president's ideology, and therefore they themselves will be in harmony. But, yeah, there are plenty who differ. But I hear constantly, for example, New York Transit Authority, someone called me the other day and said they have over 10,000 employees. They had to have a special meeting to explain that someone is going to be transitioning from male to female, and this is how they have to deal with it. And he said everybody that I talk to disagrees, but they're all afraid to speak up because they don't want to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
So that can happen in all kinds of government or federal settings, even in school settings. I've talked to first grade teachers, and they said, look, this curriculum is already in our elementary school, but we can't say anything, we lose our jobs. That's where we have to remember what Jesus said. If you save your life, you lose it. If you lose your life for my sake in the gospel, you find it. And that's what we need to do. We need to say, okay, with all respect to the government, with all respect to authority, we're going to do what's right, no matter the cost or consequence. Again, if enough people do that, it'll turn the tide.
Dr. Brown, one final thought here I'd like you to elaborate on a little bit. This is an election year, and I think that it would be fair and behoove all of us, if we know a Democrat that is running for political office, to look them straight in the eye and see if they would adhere to this mantra of advocacy of a lack of morality in our country, and that would for sure tell me I wouldn't vote for that particular person. What are your thoughts about confronting Democrats and finding out their beliefs?
Absolutely. I think it's a good thing to do, and I think we need to put a question forth in writing and ask. And we can do it as radio hosts, we can do it as individual citizens, we can do it with groups, and just say we'd like to know where you stand on this. Do you support this particular mandate by the government, this transgender mandate? Simply yes or no, and just ask those questions and get a written response. And based on that would be enough. If I was leaning towards a candidate and they said that they supported it, I would quickly lean away.
Dr. Brown, one final thought here. You've seen the overall picture of the problems that this can and very possibly will cause in our society, and you've heard the edict from Obama's administration. You've heard Texas say no, other states say no. What about it? Can we win if all of us stand up and say this is sleaze and filth, and Obama, you're going to have to eat crow?
Yeah, of course. The tide can actually turn, can absolutely turn. I don't doubt it for a split second. It just takes everybody doing what they can in the sphere of influence that they have. If we'll all do that, we will see a change. That's why I wrote Outlasting the Gay Revolution, to say that we can outlast this. We can bring about a change. It's not about hating people. It's about loving all people and doing what's right. Hey, with that, I've got to get on with my own revolutionary purposes and run to my own radio show, but great talking to you today.
Same here, Dr. Brown. Thank you. Come back in the future. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Dr. Michael Brown on our program this morning, and I knew he had to get loose for his own program coming up in just a matter of moments, and I certainly appreciate him elaborating on this subject this morning. I never, ever thought 20, 30 years ago that we would be at this kind of a society today. Sick and perverted. My grandparents would be spinning in their grave right now. Unbelievable. Oh, got to pay some bills. Want to remind you that Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar is running for re-election in Minidoka County, a working sheriff out in the field doing any job necessary, and he appreciates your votes. He wants to continue being Minidoka County Sheriff. Eric Snar, his pledge to you to make the community safer. Don't forget, Eric Snar for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by Re-elect Eric Snar, Jason Gibbons, Secretary. Thank you very much. Also, we want to remind you about Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Thank you very much. Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's today at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. You give a hold of them today. Oh, we got a great big day tomorrow. It is Election Day. Please don't listen to all these so-called know-it-all pundits in the papers and other places that say, oh, well, the turnout probably will be very small and minimal. Make it big. Get out and vote for the candidate of your choice in this primary election. It is very, very important. Don't forget, too, Darwin Johnson, running for Cassia County Sheriff, has been in the law enforcement business for over 25 years, a United States veteran. He knows budgets and how proper funding can benefit the Sheriff's Department. He wants your vote tomorrow on May 17th. Darwin Johnson for Cassia County Sheriff Committee, paid for by Dora Johnson, Treasurer. In just a few moments, we're going to send it back over to our main studios for a break at the bottom of the hour. And coming up next hour, we're going to be talking to Energy in Depth spokesperson Katie Brown. And that should be really interesting, so don't go away. We'll have that on the air coming up next hour. I also want to remind you that D. Yeaman is running for candidate for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. He has lived in Cassia County nearly all of his adult life, and he believes in protecting the values that make Cassia County a great place to live, and he believes in working hard to make improvements when necessary. D. Yeaman will work hard for you. Vote for D. Yeaman, candidate for Cassia County Commissioner District 3, tomorrow, May 17th. Paid for by Yeaman for Commissioner Committee, Sharon Hardy Mills, the Treasurer. And one more word before we go to the break at the bottom of the hour. Maxine Bell is running for re-election Representative District 25A. Maxine Bell wants your vote for District 25A as representative tomorrow. She's served the community since 1988, and she wants to continue serving you. She says our nation, and especially Idaho, needs people to exercise their voting privileges and be a voice. So please go to the polls tomorrow, May 17th. Vote for re-election of Maxine Bell for District 25A. Linda Burton, Treasurer. Wow. And with that, we're going to go over to Wheels at our main station, take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about energy with Kate Brown with the Energy in Depth Committee. So stand by. We'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. We'll have our guest on the air with us in just a moment. Don't forget, Clive Strong is running for Idaho Supreme Court Justice, and he wants your vote tomorrow, May 17th. Don't forget he has the experience to make great decisions for us here in the state of Idaho. He knows the issues that are very important to Idaho and its future: water, timber, mining, and grazing, and has argued cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and the Idaho Supreme Court. Don't forget, Clive Strong for Idaho Supreme Court Justice, paid for by former state representative Bert Stevenson. Also, in our continuing list of people that are running for office, we want to remind you that Shirley Halford Hubbard is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, and she absolutely has roots in the Malda and Sublette area and loves interacting with people of this county. And she says if you want fair and equal representation for all of Cassia County, vote for Shirley Halford Hubbard for District 3 County Commissioner, paid for by the committee, Lois Reinhardt, Treasurer. And last but not least, for this segment anyway, I also want to remind you that Representative Clark Kaufman urges you to go vote tomorrow, May 17th, in the primary election, and he is working to keep Idaho a business-friendly state with tax policies that are fair and equitable for businesses and individuals. Thank you very much. Clark Kaufman wants your vote tomorrow for District 25 Representative, paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Now, with all that said, let's go to our phone lines, and we have with us a lady by the name of Katie Brown with the Energy in Depth. I don't know too much about the Energy in Depth Committee or organization. Tell us a little bit about it, Katie. What do you do?
Oh, sure. It's a research and education program of the Independent Petroleum Association of America. And our job is to make sure that everyone has the facts about fracking. So there's a lot of misinformation out there that's being pushed by activists and folks like that. So our job is just to make sure that everyone knows what's actually going on in the process of fracking.
Okay, now, what do you do on behalf of your group? And I think it's fantastic, honestly, and I don't mean to minimize anything you do, but what do you do to let the general public know that we've got some wackos that are trying to stop energy of all types and exploration of energy of all types? What are you doing to tell these people that we've got to have a strong energy program or we won't have a country?
Well, absolutely. We need oil and gas to run this country, and the bottom line is that not only is it bringing us enormous economic benefits, but it's also bringing environmental benefits as well. It means cleaner air, lower greenhouse gas emissions because of natural gas. And it also means more jobs and lower energy bills and strengthened energy security as well. And I think folks really know that across the United States. They've seen it in their pocketbooks and they've seen it in their strengthened energy security and all of that. So
I disagree with you somewhat, Katie, and bear with me. I'm certainly not trying to be arbitrary with you, but I'm really concerned about the younger generation. Let's say the 30 and under crowd. Their minds have been warped and bent and diminished by professors and school teachers that absolutely are dumber than a bicycle spoke when it comes to energy, and they're preaching the philosophy of leave it in the ground. They are the future leaders for our great country. How are you going to get to them?
Well, I think once it hits their pocketbooks, they really realize how important it is for us to have reliable, affordable energy. But what you said about keep it in the ground, basically everyone is saying how extreme they are. I mean, Sally Jewell, who is the Secretary of the Interior, just said the other day that the keep it in the ground movement is totally naive. John Podesta, who is President Obama's former advisor, said that these folks are completely impractical. You can't run a country without fossil fuels. It's impossible. And what they're asking us to do is just eliminate all fossil fuels, which is just completely ridiculous and impractical.
You know, and I would love to have the opportunity, Katie, to stand up in front of a bunch of these kids, these snot-nosed, know-nothing, never had responsibility college activists, and tell them, okay, where are you going to eat today, folksies? Because the more you diminish energy in this country, the least your chances are to live a nutritious life. Agriculture, for one in this country, the greatest country in the world, is absolutely going to go down the tubes if we use their stupid thinking. Do you agree with me?
Well, what you just said is very interesting because it would be very fun to ask some of these activists to live without any oil and gas products in their entire lives. That means no MacBook Air. That means no iPad, no telephone.
Right.
Basically everything in their lives is made by petroleum. And what are you going to do if you take all that away? If you keep it all in the ground, you have nothing.
Yeah, and you know, what's going on with this methane movement? Oh, the sky is falling. Chicken Little, we've got high methane in the air. Cows are farting. I mean, my goodness, what kind of idiocy is this?
Yes, well, so the Obama administration has just finalized methane regulations on the oil and gas industry. And it's going to hit the smaller producers the hardest, especially in a kind of challenging price environment right now. It's going to be very costly and onerous, and it will have pretty much no impact on global temperatures. Because if you actually do the math, you find that what the administration is proposing will pretty much reduce global temperatures by about 4 1/1000ths of 1 degree. That's going to make no difference.
You know,
What will happen likely is that it will mean that we'll produce less natural gas, and that will mean we'll have higher emissions because we're not using as much natural gas.
That's right.
Natural gas is what's bringing down greenhouse gas emissions in the United States.
You know, Katie, On behalf of your organization, you know, let me back up just a little bit and say, I think, and I really kind of feel sorry for these dolts, and that's what they are, because they weren't educated enough to understand what's really going on. These dolts that believe in climate change and global warming. Man had nothing to do with this, because there's no such thing as man having his hand on the thermostat. This is a cyclical change that has gone on during the world's history since way back when dinosaurs were sitting where I am right now. And I'm sick and tired of being dictated to by an administration that basically wants a 7-letter word, and that's control, Katie. You know it is. And they want us to regress and burn buffalo dung living in a cave. And that's what this Obama administration wants. Your comment.
Well, to your point, anyone who is worried about global climate change should be a huge natural gas supporter, because it's because of natural gas that our emissions have gone down by 9%. That's a dramatic decrease. We're the only country in the world that has been able to achieve a dramatic decrease in greenhouse gas emissions. We're also the #1 oil and gas producer. So what does that tell you? It shows that, natural gas is what brings down emissions. And so these activists who are saying keep it in the ground have it all wrong. They're denying the science, basically.
We are going to be stuck with still 247 days left of this Obama administration. Now, Katie, be honest with me, straight up above board, how afraid are you, on behalf of Energy in Depth, that Obama is going to come out with some silly, frivolous, costly decree that's going to make all of us as taxpayers and energy users suffer even more?
Well, he has said that the administration plans to release regulations also on existing sources. So the one that he just released was on new and modified sources. So it would mean another layer of bureaucracy, another layer of regulations that makes it much more difficult to produce this fuel that is bringing economic and environmental benefits across the United States.
Absolutely.
So there is that coming down.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. When you hear a cow on this program, it means a caller's waiting. Good morning, caller. Quickly for Katie Brown. Go ahead.
Thank you. I've been here. You hear on the news reports every once in a while, they'll tell you how much during the month of, say, March, the degrees have warmed up over the global climate, global climate change. And as my perspective is what I do for a job, I've actually seen it dropping. Is there people really honestly not take the time to look and just feel the temperature and the environment they live in? They actually believe that it's warming up. I'll let you go.
All right. Katie, respond to the caller, please.
Oh, thank you. At Energy in Depth, we don't really evaluate the climate science as much, other than how it relates to natural gas bringing down emissions. But what you're saying is interesting, because when you're talking about global climate change, it's a global issue, and so what we're seeing in the United States is dramatic decreases in emissions because of natural gas. Other countries, it's going up. So again, it's not Energy in Depth's position to address climate science in general, other than how it is affected by natural gas.
All right. So basically, clean burning natural gas, we need more of it, and Obama and his administration are trying to put thumbs down upon it. Is that correct?
That's in a nutshell.
All right. Katie, I thank you for being on the program this morning. Come back in the future if you would, please.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Nice to be with you.
You bet. God bless. Thank you very much, Katie Brown, with the organization called Energy in Depth. Thank you for being on the program this morning. Holy cow! We've got a bunch of ads to take care of. Wheels, would you please play the Clive Strong for Supreme Court ad? Would you please?
Strong, Justice for Idaho.
Clive Strong is a third-generation Idahoan with a proven record of protecting Idaho's sovereignty. He is respected and ethical and will interpret Idaho's Constitution and laws as written. Strong worked to increase endowment funding for public education. Clive Strong has the bipartisan endorsement of Governor Dirk Kimthorne and Governor Cecil Andrus. Clive Strong is the right justice for Idaho's Supreme Court.
Paid Strong for Justice campaign, William Van Hole, Treasurer.
Oh, thank you very much. And right now, don't forget Kelly Anthon is running again for Idaho State Senator, and he wants to serve you. Kelly is a strong voice for agriculture and has a proven track record of success and economic development. Don't forget, tomorrow, May 17th, vote for Kelly Anthon for State Senator, paid for by the Kelly Anthon for State Senator Committee, Elaine Stevenson, Treasurer. Thank you very much. Here's what I want to do. I want to have the weather next, and I really would like you to call and give me your feelings about the topics that we've discussed this morning on the program. I can't do anything without having your support and bring up some other good, valid points. So give me a call about anything we've discussed this morning. I'd like to hear from you in the time remaining on the program this morning. While I'm waiting for your calls, I'm going to have the weather quickly, and the weather's brought to you by Scarrows Meats over in Jerome. 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Your hometown meat cutter in Jerome and the area, Scarrows Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, here we are, kicking off another work week, and you want to know what the weather's going to be like. Well, here it is. Mostly cloudy skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side. Winds out of the west right around 13 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 63 tonight, low of 45. Tomorrow it is going to be better. Partly cloudy skies, slightly breezy, high of 70 with an overnight low of 46. Mostly sunny and 75 for Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, it looks like we're going to have a storm moving in, expecting some rain showers in the afternoon, partly some mostly cloudy skies, going to be windy as well. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s, and for Saturday, partly cloudy and 65. Yesterday's high was 63. The overnight low was 48. That's your weather for Zebeth Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Your hometown meat cutter serving all of southern Idaho. My goodness, it's good. Scarrows Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome, Don Scarrow, and the rest of the crew. 324-7657. Yup, they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Good. Don't forget, Jerome County Sheriff Doug McFall wants your vote tomorrow, May 17th, for a re-election as Jerome County Sheriff. He has been the Jerome County Sheriff since 2009 and wants your vote for a third term. He was very instrumental in getting the new jail facility built in Jerome County, and he wants your vote tomorrow for re-election, Jerome County Sheriff Doug McFall. Paid for by the McFall for Jerome County Sheriff Committee, Cinda Morgan, Treasurer. All right, let's get some calls in here. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. My audience has been extremely vocal and supportive on many, many issues, and I really would like to hear your thoughts about kind of a general feeling about this morning's program. The morality and family values in our country has been diminished and absolutely dissected and thrown away because of this Obama administration. You can look at the Department of Justice, you can look at the Education Department, and you can point your fingers at all of these people, but I'm going to point my finger right to the top. This absolutely insidious, evil man, Obama, issuing a decree. Oh, yeah, King Obama. And telling states that they're not going to get federal money unless they go along with his sleaze and his absolute ridiculous attitude of letting anybody into your daughter's locker room or your son's locker room, bathroom, whatever it might be. This is pathetic. And holding the schools across this nation at bay with these absolutely anti-family, anti-privacy rules and regulations. The letter that he sent says that schools must, immediately respect a student's new gender identity. A new student gender identity? Believe me, they were born as a girl or a boy, and all of a sudden they got this harebrained idea, well, I'm going to be a girl, or I'm going to be a boy, and now we're supposed to respect that over and above the privacy of our own children, our sons and our daughters? I think not. Dr. Michael Brown just a few moments ago said, and I agree with him, it's time for a social revolt in this country against this insidious type of ruling. And in the Daily Caller, there was a paragraph that said, Obama's new order will, without a doubt, enrage many Republicans who have argued that transgender bathroom policies will allow perverted men to prey upon women in bathrooms and locker rooms, and some incidents like this have already occurred. Well, you better do something then. We all better do something. Stand up and fight back. Obama is not king, and we need to let him know in no uncertain terms. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Roger Morley is running for re-election for District 3, Jerome County Commissioner. Roger has served as County Commissioner in Jerome for 2 terms, and he has 2 terms as Idaho Senate lobbyist and also as a Jerome County Planning and Zoning Commissioner, and he wants to stay working for you. Don't forget, vote for Roger Morley, re-election for District 3, Jerome County Commissioner tomorrow, paid for by the Morley for Commissioner Committee, Lorraine Morley, Treasurer. You know, don't weaken on me. Give me a call and let me know what your thoughts are. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. In some other news, to try to lighten things up a little bit before we end here this morning, this might not be the story to lighten things up, but being a former baseball player and a baseball nut, I love baseball, the Rangers and the Blue Jays got into a big old-fashioned base brawl last night. Holy man! There were fisticuffs, there were a lot of bear hugs, a lot of shoving, there were a lot of names about family ancestry that some didn't even know they were related to. It was quite a base brawl, and I know that fines and suspensions probably will be coming from the commissioner's office. But you know what? A lot of this stems from taking the macho out of the game. Taking the macho out of the game. I'll explain why in just a few minutes. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Why is our local school system taking money from the federal government in the first place? That's what causes our problems, is now they can hold it over us. If we learn to live within our means, we wouldn't have the problem of them trying to hold things over us.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. You don't have to tell me your name or anything, but do you have children in the school system right now?
At this very moment, no, I do not, but I have a granddaughter.
Okay, that's all the better then. Talk about it on a grandfather's perspective. With this kind of sleaze, this kind of immorality, this kind of a dictate from Obama, what are your thoughts about where we are in America and especially our public schools today?
I had trouble in school. I had 2 children that had learning disabilities. I probably used more of the federal money than most people did. But if we keep taking it, we got to keep putting up with what they dictate. I mean, No Child Left Behind, how much of a help was that?
Yeah.
Every program that they come out, we try to get more and more from them, and we need to get back to running off of our own money.
Well, I agree with you, but as a grandfather, I want you to directly answer my question with your granddaughter. You must be very, very concerned about the state of a lack of privacy for her growing up right now.
Big time.
All right, sir. I appreciate your call. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Bye.
You know, as I stated, Deanne and I, all of our grandchildren are boys. It doesn't make any difference. I mean, it's just a worry and a concern that now morality, value systems, decency, and privacy, thanks to this administration, are going down the drain. There will be problems. Mark my words, there's going to be problems. And I'll say this, there should be. There should be parents outraged, grandparents outraged. There's going to be major problems. And this has got to be changed. This demands social unrest against this presidency. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And they've got all the tires for you for your summertime safe driving. Oh my goodness, many of which are on sale right now. You stop over to any and all of the 7 locations and they will serve you. And don't forget to ask about the free pre-trip safety check too. Great. Peace of mind. And talk about peace of mind, make sure you have your brakes checked. And if you need brakes, they've got the best in brake service. You absolutely need to go over there and ask about that, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and much, much more. And it all relates back to service. Oh my goodness, absolutely great people serving you at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All you have to do is get a hold of them today. Stop over and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Now, tomorrow, we are not going to run any political ads per se for any of the contestants, basically. We are going to run some ads for Get Out and Vote, and I do urge you to get out and vote tomorrow, May 17th. I read that newspaper story. Where did it go? It said here on the front page of the paper, and I absolutely think that they shouldn't plant a seed like this. Low voter turnout expected in upcoming Idaho primary. No, let's prove them wrong. Be proud to be an American citizen. Be proud of who you are and show your ID at the polls. Be proud to select and pick the person you think is best suited for the job. Get out and vote tomorrow. Speaking of tomorrow on the program, on Idaho Primary Day, we're going to have Frosty Woldridge at 9:06. Then, of course, Dr. History is going to be doing the program long distance by phone. And then we'll have some other guests coming in on voting day tomorrow also. The polls open at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Get out and vote. We'll be back on the air tomorrow morning at 8:06 up at the ranch right here in the old ranch studio. And we urge you to tune in for 3 hours, 8 to 11. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.